out there to be done.
Agreed. Mike Peasy. He's off the Heezy Procedure joining the show. Is my man. Every conference he's been in, he's had the greatest hair, but now he's one of the greatest special teams coordinators ever walked the face of this planet. Coach Michael Pollock is joining the Morning Run. Coach P,
what's up?
To the Morning Run.
Appreciate y'all. Glad to be here, man.
Yes, sir, Coach.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Coach, it's Monday.
Yes,
Game
sir.
was Saturday. Team meeting on yesterday in practice. What talk about the mechanics of we got to address what happened with BYU, but we also got to pivot and go toward TCU. What's been the vibe, whether it's coaches or players? What's your view?
Well, you know, in this business, you got to have a short memory, and whether you win or lose, the next team's coming in 7 days, whether you like it or not, and you just gotta pivot fast, and you got to learn to put things behind you, and you got to learn from your mistakes. I mean, we've got another undefeated team coming in here. You know, we've lost to 3 undefeated teams, and we got another one this Saturday. So we got to make sure we take care of it.
Yeah, shorter week with the travel as well, because we got to spend one of those days, half a day on the road. How do you guys adjust and get ready for that? Not just the game plan itself, but it's condensed this week.
Well, fortunately, we've got experience going down to Fort Worth, and the plan we used last time worked pretty good, and I just feel like it's good. I mean, it's a Saturday game, so we'll be leaving on Friday, like we normally would for an away game, and so we just got to keep through with our process and keep focusing on what needs to be done every day. And by the time we get on that plane Friday, it's we're locked and loaded, ready to roll.
Hey, Coach, are you able to use the team's records that you've lost against as like maybe like a motivational tool to say, hey, look, guys, you see how close we are? When you look at the way that you've played all 3 of these undefeated teams, 12-0 worth of wins that you've lost to, how can you use that mentally or as a motivational tool to get these guys to understand how close they really are?
Well, I think that's a great way to try to spin a positive on it if you can find one. You're losing to good teams, and you're right there. That's what's so frustrating is, you lose to BYU, who's by 3, you lose to Georgia Tech by 7, who's obviously upset Clemson and obviously one of the top teams in the country. And of course, Houston, I think that they've surprised everyone, and done a great job and continue to do a great job. So yeah, I think you tell the kids, hey guys, yeah, I know we've come up short. I know it's frustrating. I know we're all upset, but we're right here in these games, and if we clean up just 1 or 2 things, it's just 1 or 2 plays. And the thing that's really frustrating is it's self-inflicted. That we control, we control holding penalties, we control taking sacks, we control not staying in our gap to start the run, we control not tackling on special teams when we got a guy on the 1 yard line, almost got a safety, and we let him out to the 5 yard line. I know a lot of people cheer about that, but as a coach, I'm looking at it like, man, we had a chance to put points on the board right there.
Yeah.
Goal line, and we should have made them pay for that. And what would have happened if we'd got a safety right there, and then now they got to kick off back to us from their 20, and we got a chance to get good field position, and we got momentum, we got the crowd in it. Things that we can control, things that we've talked about all the time. Coach Prime talked about all last week about tackling, bringing your feet, not grabbing, reaching. And for me, people talk about, we've played good on special teams, and we have played good, but there's still small things that we can control that can really, be the difference in tight games. When you play good competition, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays. It's going to come down to, how you execute in those crucial situations. And right now we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot, and it's not been from a talent perspective or something the other team has done to us. We've done it to ourselves.
Coach, one of the things I've really enjoyed is the change in the grading system, not just putting the numbers up on the screen, but putting plays up on the screen that would have made differences, good, bad, and different and ugly. And you kind of touched on it with one of yours, because special teams has been exceptional this year. Let me just say that, hats off to you and the work that you guys have done. But having said that, there's room for improvement when something's even exceptional. And there was a kickoff where we had a little more effort getting down the field, if not a safety there at the 1 yard line versus the 5. And I really love the way you spoke to the entire team, not just your specialists, that in this kind of game, that 4 yards is a mofo. Like, that's a huge difference bringing a guy down at the 1, or because we were all celebrating that he got tackled at the 5.
Right.
But it woulda, coulda, shoulda, had not been for our technique and effort, he would have been at the 1.
Right.
Double back for me, man, because you were there as well when the defense walks through the woulda, coulda, shoulda plays in the offense. You're really talking about 1 or 2 plays self-inflicted that literally changed the outcome of the game. Well, why is that attention to detail going to be even more important going forward these next 7?
Well, I think the Big 12 is a conference that has always had a lot of parity. And, we're going to be playing a lot of tight games for the rest of the season. And it's going to come down to those plays. It's going to come down to who's got the most attention to detail, who takes care of the little things, and it's going to come down to the point to where, it's like Coach Prime says, man, put people out there that do what you tell them. You know what I mean? And it's and we've got to do a better job of making sure that our guys are on the field, that are doing what we ask them to do, and not kind of quote unquote going in business for themselves, and just not remembering my technique, not remembering the details of my assignment. Because I think a lot of times kids, when they don't do their assignment, it's not on purpose. I think they're trying to do too much. They're trying to be a guy that makes the play. And you know what? You got to let the plays come to you. You can't force plays. You gotta let the plays come to you. And if you do what you're told to, and you do your technique long enough, and you do it right, eventually it will happen, and the play will come to you. So that's just what we've got to continue doing, and we got to continue pointing out these small details. And I'm like you, man. I love what coach has changed the grading system, how we handle that. I mean, I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video's worth more. And there you can't sit there and deny. You could say, well, Coach, I thought I had a 4, or man, it was 1 or 2. How many times did we sit there in those meetings and coaches say, yeah, man, you were 1 or 2 plays from a 4. You were 1 or 2 plays from a 5. Well, we've seen what 1 or 2 plays get you. You know what I mean? And
Coach, one more on this BYU before we get a couple of TCU things in. I strongly believe that we were going to win this ball game, and I was hanging my hat on the things we did to improve this team from that last loss. Our last game was against BYU down in San Antonio. We lost that game. We made some changes across the board, and I thought those changes would propel us forward, such as we only had 2 yards rushing in that game. Well, with the backs that we have now in the quarterback, I knew we were going to have more than 2 yards rushing, which was going to lead to more time of possession for us.
Right.
And then the improvements, hats off again to you on special teams. They ran a punt back on us at the Alamo Bowl, and they executed an onside kick on us. I knew that wasn't going to happen this game because we got the best hair coach of the special teams that can do it. But here's what I forgot, Coach. I forgot penalties.
Yeah.
And whereas our numbers this year are lower,